My favorite Sony gear of 2017. What is good, YouTube? It's that one camera guy back at again with another video for you. This is a talking head video going over some of my favorite products of 2017 from Sony. And as far as lenses and even camera bodies, I'll share with you the stuff that I've actually had a chance to use. I can't really comment on things I didn't personally use, and I really hate saying something like recommending a product I've never touched at all. So the stuff that I'm mentioning in this video is equipment that I've actually had a chance to really get my hands on and use to some degree. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with lenses. My first lens that I want to cover is the Sony 85 f1.8 FE. It retails for about $600 US. It's a great budget-friendly 85 in the scope of the Sony system, okay? 600 bucks isn't cheap still, but in terms of the G Master versus the Bodice and versus this is a lot more affordable. And from the general reviews from it, in my experience with it, going from this versus the Bodice, I really didn't find any major advantages other than the optical stabilization on the Bodice 85. So if you were looking for a really good 85, you can rest assured that you'd get one with this particular series. And you don't really need the optical stabilization, I would say personally, because most of the full-frame bodies that are out now, like this A7R II, for example, have in-body image stabilization. And so the benefits don't really stretch out as far as you would like, and you can definitely save a few $100s going with this lens versus the Bodice 85. And I own both. My brother's using the Bodice 85, and I decided just to stick with this one because the focus hold button comes in really handy. You can program it to do a plethora of things. I use it for eye autofocus. Then you have your manual autofocus and manual focus switch. And I don't know what about you, but this stuff is really handy at times. You never realize when you want to switch to just manual focus all of a sudden, and having a switch comes in handy. The next thing we're going to look at are zoom lenses. One of my favorite ultra-wide zoom lenses that came out for 2017 is not necessarily a 16-35, but actually the 12-24 f4 lens that came out for Sony. It's a very light weight and capable lens, and when paired up with the A9 back when it came out, I absolutely love that combination. Now, I didn't get to use the unit or the lens that I rented out from Pro Support for very long, but I absolutely loved it. I had the 10-18 f4, which is one of my all-time favorite lenses, and I think that's the reason why I didn't just go out and buy the 12-24, was because of the fact that this 10-18 is so versatile. It works on APS-C, you can use it on full frame, and by the way, you can use it in full frame mode with a full frame camera, and you can still shoot photos and video with it, albeit the corners will be soft, but it's still usable in many circumstances. So I think that's the reason why I didn't just go out and grab it. But if I was going to grab an ultra wide angle lens and it was between the 16-35 versus the 12-24, I would pick up the 12-24 because that thing is amazing. All right, my next favorite zoom lens is the Sony 100-400. Now this lens, I was kind of avoiding it. Didn't know if I was actually going to really like the lens, but I was just blown away. I got a rental from Pro Support to try out, and I was using it on the A7R III when I was doing a review on it, shooting some sports. Now here's the thing, with my 7200 G Master at f2.8, it's a really solid lens for low light stuff and things like indoor basketball and sports. It's really great for that kind of work. Absolutely loved it. Then when I started tinkering with the 1.4x teleconverter and the 2x teleconverter, I just wasn't happy with the 2x. The 1.4x was good, but the 2x just wasn't very impressive to me. So I made some comparisons from the 2x teleconverter with this at 200mm versus the 400mm on the Sony 100-400. They were both at 5.6. The 100-400, for obvious reasons, performed much better. The quality was better, sharpness was there, clarity was there compared to the 2x teleconverter. So I really enjoyed it for the outdoor stuff that I shot with the A7R III and the A9. And I would highly recommend this if you're looking for a really strong outdoor lens for both sports and wildlife for daytime stuff. When it gets to the evening, it's definitely going to struggle a little bit, obviously because of that 4.5, 5.6 aperture, but you get what you pay for. But it is a solid lens, and it is one that I'm very interested in picking up myself in the future. So if I had to pick, right, so here's the real question is, I've gotten this question before, if I had to pick between the 7200 or the 100-400, which one would I get? And I would still go with the 70-200 because it's a more versatile lens, especially if you have a limited budget and you can only pick one. I would get this and potentially the 1.4x teleconverter. I just wasn't happy with the 2x. So 1.4x give you some flexibility. You're just not going to get that crazy reach. So it's just a trade-off you're gonna have to make. It just depends on where most of your photography happens. Now let's go over cameras for 2017. We had the A9 come out, and as well as the A7R III, two juggernaut cameras that came out. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what my favorite camera is of 2017, as well, and talk about these two. The Sony A9 came out in the summer, picked it up, and I had that whole issue with the overheating on this particular unit. Actually, not this particular unit, but the Sony A9 in general. So the first unit I got from B&H Photo, that's the one that experienced some of that overheating issues. Got the loaner from Pro Support to try out. Both of them overheated. Both of them shut down. And then I went ahead and swapped this out for a fresh unit from B&H Photo, and haven't had too many issues. I've seen the overheating indicator come on before, but that was in challenging circumstances, shooting under sunlight, shooting outdoors in a summer day. But haven't had an actual shutdown with this unit since then. So been very happy with the A9. I'm very conscious about where I'm shooting and how I'm shooting to make sure I don't have any of those shutdown problems. The A7R III came out not too long ago, maybe less than a month ago now, almost a month ago, and it has blown away people's expectations in terms of its performance. Really great autofocus, high megapixel quality, really great video quality, all the bells and whistles, better battery life, etc. And it goes on and on. The original A7R II was pretty good already, and it doesn't mean it's a bad camera. The A7R II is actually still pretty good, but things like battery life, memory cards, things like that are important to users who want to rely on the equipment have found it in this particular system. The dual SD card slots that they brought in, again, the better battery life, it makes this an all-around contender as one of the best cameras of 2017, and many people have touted that on their review sites. I think for me personally, I like the A7R III, a very solid camera. If I wasn't shooting so much sports, I would say the A7R III is my all-time favorite camera, and I think it will evolve over time, maybe in the future, as one of the best cameras in the next couple years for Sony. We still haven't seen the A7 III or the A7S III, so what's going to happen with that? But my all-time favorite camera of 2017 is going to be the Sony A9. It is a monster, it's a beast, 20 frames per second, silent shutter. It had the better battery life, dual SD card slots, and overall just better performance in terms of just speed and performance and drive. So if you wanted to get the shot, this is the camera you want to get. And I've had my mixed emotions and feelings about it, but I will say that this is my pick of 2017. And you can disagree, that's perfectly fine. But I really like the Sony A9 just a slight bit more than the A7R III. The A7R III is an absolute gem, but the A9 just the hair. I prefer the A9 because I've been using it more. I mean, ever since the A9 came out, it's the camera I haven't been able to put down. I've just been using it over and over and over and over and over. And even though it's missing picture profiles, etc., I've been able to work. It's not been a big issue for me, so I've been very happy with everything else about it. Things I really want Sony to fix is the rating features. It does suck it doesn't have some of the newer ports and options that it got on the A7R III, but it is what it is. Really still like the A9. That is my pick of 2017. Folks, that's going to do it for me in this video. Please leave your thoughts and comments about your favorite products of 2017 in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other content. And with that said, Happy New Year. Peace.